Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Moon Harvest, Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, J Mels 24, Unimento, M, Iron 26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealand, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Say again, Righteous?
I said you'll get like in character, so to say, right? You'll be like, hello, welcome to the FE Debate Show. You'll have your smile on.
Oh,
So
I
forth
see what you
and so
mean.
on.
Well, yeah, there is that. There's, I think the word's persona, isn't it? But it is basically a character. There's Nathan Oakley, the person, the family man, the father, and then there's Nathan Oakley, the YouTuber. And that is a persona that I suppose you could say I put on. It's just professionalism. If you've got to behave a certain way in a job, if you're a plumber, you behave that way if you have a good day, you behave that way if you have a bad day, unless you're unprofessional. Do you know what I mean? So the persona is just me being professional, but that is still just me. In other words, me as an individual, when I'm doing what I do, I try and be professional. But it's not a character. And if it is,
Yeah,
it's Nathan Oakley, the character, if you want to say that. But that's very what's his name? The shouty fat guy from InfoWars.
Oh, Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, that was his defense, wasn't it, in court?
Yes, I remember that. But the review still comes out. Like, I can still get a good sense of who you are through your show, and well, I still see that when you do the show.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sorry about joining in the middle of your intro.
That's fine.
Hey, we're just glad you're joining at all.
That's exactly correct. I'm just glad someone's here. Yeah. But in the Go on, Owen.
Oh, Righteous just Joan.
Yes, your Righteous was in the G Plus panel keeping everybody warmed up while I moaned about my computer. That was unrecorded, so it won't go out to anybody, which is good. There we go. Let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope. You can assume a distance if that fits your model, but I mean, if you actually want the proof, there isn't any.
Right,
it's not there.
Right, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Well, it depends on what you think of as gravity, Are you going to think of it as a force or not a force?
Yeah, which one?
Medium space-time bending, or what is it?
I mean, colloquially. Go on, John.
Well, if you think of it in terms of what creates the solar system and eccentricity, you'll need a horizontal plane of reference for that.
Well, to go back on what Armin said. To go back on what Armin said and what they say it is, there'll never be that evidence because it's conceptual. Right?
Gravity? I mean,
they don't know.
Yeah, they say it's the bending of space-time and stuff like that, and that's a concept, so you'll never be able to prove that.
No. It's one step on from the reification of the force described in Newtonian gravity that's taught to children, though. So most people are under the general impression that it's a force that pulls things towards the ground, and colloquially would be described as something that's more dense than the air, typically, not always, falling through it in a downward bias.
Right. Well, that's not there. You know, it's not even claimed. Gravity as a force isn't technically claimed anymore. People still believe in it, like as in like a folklore or something. But technically, it's not official. There isn't anything.
Have we fully taken ownership of the term flurf now? I have no issue with flurf, but Jeff Gosshead in the chat says, "Hi flurfs." As a member, so I don't know, that could mean that he's just a member that likes the show and is a globehead, or it could mean that, like me, I feel justified in taking ownership of the word
He's
flurf.
a flat earther.
Yeah, flurf, flat earther. Flurf.
It's just, flurf it's become slang.
Yeah, but even the Globers are technically flat earthers. They use a lot of the same flat plane for their measurements. So
Well, there's only one. They use it for their measurements.
right, yeah, the same one we're using, the only one, right?
Quick heads up to Quantum Eraser if you're out there listening. Flatsoid did a response video about refraction. And he did get into the wrangle-dangle of Snell's law, but also got into the wrangle-dangle of gradiated sugar water and refraction in the context of the world that we inhabit, because that's how it's positioned by his opponent. So if you're out there listening, also Flatsoid, I don't know if that's going to fly, but you did publish it as a response to QE, so I'm not going to comment too much as it was directed at him, as was his comments directed at you. But you did ask me to cover that debate, my friend, so sorry to be shouting out to an individual in the audience. Go on, John.
Did Flatsoid address that the fishing tank where the light's bending or seems to be bending has a level surface level, and that gradation is based from that surface level? Did he go into that at all?
No, he didn't. You would have gone into that if you had been arguing this point, though, wouldn't you, John?
Well, it would definitely be something to know if they understand before you argue with them about it.
The way you would potentially position it would be to say that, okay, so we've got a tank and it's got a gradation that you can describe through the water after letting the sugar settle. Okay. And you would qualify that gradation with reference to horizontal. Right?
Yep. Right. So how do you get that horizontal surface level or sea level on a surface that you say is curving?
Right. Well, that would also therefore apply to their refraction, regardless if it's mathematical or reified into the physical. That is to say that if you're going to describe how Snell's law applies because the air itself, by virtue of reification and going through more and more thick layers as the ground has fallen away from the air volume that you've put a straight line through in terms of your vision. We'll come to that later. But that density gradient that is increased over a curve, according to them, won't be able to be described unless it's actually referenced to the horizontal with respect to the gradation of that boundary layer they're inferring when going over a curve that has also been derived mathematically from the horizontal. Was that a concise summary? Not concise, but was it accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty much basically their problem. It's not ours. I mean, that's all theirs.
Okay, well, that's a big problem. You're going to need a flat Earth to assert horizontal gradation layers, and that's how they're qualified. I mean, it was right there. 10th was highlighting this 2 years ago with Andrew Thomas Young, as was Anthony prior to 10th Man, when they point out that how they actually qualify and describe refraction is with respect to a horizontal plane, because that's the only way it's done. And then they disclaim that you will make geometric considerations when believing that the Earth's a sphere falling away from you.
Right, but those geometric considerations also require a horizontal. So it's like they're using a flat Earth twice and getting the sphere somehow. I mean, don't ask me.
Any evidence you can acquire a elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline? Or a horizontal boundary layer displacement or difference from a curved baseline? I'll take that as a no.
Not even that. Not even that the program, will tell you that if you have it curved, it's not an elevation angle, right?
Yeah, but we're talking in respect to the air that they say, because it's increasing its density as the ground falls away, you've got a thicker layer effectively to go through. Therefore, they can describe how Snell's law applies in language only, because it's not actually applied. It's geometric considerations and 7/6 of the radius value. But when you're describing that verbally as an anti-flat earther or baller who doesn't understand how 7/6r is actually the applicable value in standard form, then you'll start describing how, well, no, because the air is getting thicker, it's essentially like Snell's law. It'll transition through two different boundaries, the thinner and thicker air layer. Right, okay, air layer. How are we going to qualify this? Well, with a flat Earth. So if you're talking about how we phrase it for the elevation angle argument, you've got the angle coming off the curved baseline. Well, how are you going to get a gradation layer description off a curved baseline? The answer is you won't either. Do you follow me? About to call you 10th. Do you follow me, Righteous?
I'll be honest, not really. But the audience
to describe a density or medium change, you need to describe that with respect to horizontal. That's why Andrew Thomas Young describes all the refractive effects with respect to a plane, because that is how it is qualified. Do you follow that bit?
Yeah, so you need that just to get the refractive bit. Okay, I got you.
It's an index with respect to what isn't, but they call a boundary layer. It's not. It's a gradation. But to describe said gradation will be described with respect to a plane.
Right. Okay, I got that.
So they're going to need a flat Earth to infer, because it's not part of the maths at 7/6 of the radius for terrestrial refraction, that there's a gradation of the air causing it to bend round it, the surface of Earth that's also assumed to bend. They're going to need a flat Earth for that. Right, John? It's your point, not mine, so I might as well pass the credit straight back to you, to be fair.
Yeah. So even when they're denying the container, they still need a flat Earth.
So could it be said that they're basically, if they deny the plane, they're basically arguing within circular reasoning?
They're arguing whilst using the plane. About a year and a half ago, around the time that John went on to debate Ruhif, he pointed out that the way this argument works is you hold up a flat Earth proof as a glober and say that this flat Earth proof proves a globe. So in this example, we're saying if I describe the gradation layers, and when I do, I must require or will utilize horizontal as a reference. Well, I don't have that reference to transpose it onto a globe Earth, but I'll still use it and describe refraction. In the case of Andrew Thomas Young, he does it in so much detail that at the end he has to disclaim that, well, yeah, while this has all been described with respect to a plane, geometric considerations must be taken when you apply this to a radial value and 7/6 thereof. He has to disclaim it because there's so many references to the gradation layers that he's inferring with respect to horizontal. Make sense?
Yes.
So they
It's
need
interesting that he mentions it, even though nobody mentions about FE and you probably haven't even heard about it. It's interesting that he still mentions that.
It has to be there because that is how the world works. Now, if we were in some weird cult that thought that there were going to be aliens visiting us, then there's a point where the aliens don't come. aliens from space, sky vacuum, for the sake of this discussion. When they don't come, you're proven wrong. Now, the further we walk this path, which I'm sure has been walked before in the last 100 years, I'm talking recent history, when we walk this path, we realise that everything has to reference a flat plane. It's how the world works. So therefore, it's not too much of a surprise when almost every reference that works its way back to being a globe will, not has to or does, or it will require a flat plane to reference. Normally at the start. You know, the only way they've got around swindling us up until this point is by starting after they utilise the flat plane. So in the case of McToon is a good example of this. He's got a whole challenge based on him acquiring angles off a flat plane and then asking how the flat Earth angles off a flat plane work on a flat Earth. That's his challenge. So he's taking a flat Earth and saying, this proves a globe. How does it work on a flat Earth? Only for you to take the angles he took from a flat Earth and start fathoming about how he says they shouldn't work or should work on various different projections. Well, who cares? The angles prove the flat Earth immediately. But he starts with the angles already in tow. So he's already got his flat Earth to hold it up as a globe proof.
And then after that, he uses the celestial sphere, which is a flat plane model. Obviously, it has the equatorial plane. They use that to claim, that's the globe model in this situation. So celestial navigation belongs to, you all have to use trigonometry, right? You all have to use trig. We're going to use celestial navigation. And when your trig fails, it's a globe.
When your trig fails to give you the height of the star, we'll tell you how it fails to work on a globe. Therefore, the flat Earth trig fails. You know, like the trig can only function on a flat plane for anybody, first and foremost. And secondly, you'll be using celestial navigation, not trig, which had angles taken from a flat plane. So we've proven a flat Earth from the outgo. You don't need anything else. That's it. Get your angles off a curve. Oh, you can't. So you require a flat Earth for this. Any evidence that the sky is a vacuum? Or evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container? Did my computer die? Oh, crap.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Happy days.
no, I was going to say, even if you want to try to red herring away to a density gradient, one, you'll still need a container for that density gradient. But two, in order to describe the gradation, you'll need a flat Earth.
Exactly. Oh, I'm glad you went straight there. That's why I went on to this. Precisely. So if you're going to describe things like the mesosphere, atmosphere, thermosphere, any of these sphere-shaped gradations, you're going to need a flat plane to describe them.
Right, because they begin at a distance above sea level.
Yeah. Why did we never spot this in 2015? It must just be the confidence. That's what this is. It's a con. The whole globe is a con. So when it comes to the con of the globe, what does con mean? It actually means confidence. So when somebody's a con artist or are conning you, they're utilizing their confidence on you. How does this translate to what we cover? Well, back in 2015, the obvious, as we're now describing it, sea level, is level. Okay, so we're going to need to reference something that's flat and level in order to claim that we're on a sphere. Now, we didn't spot it because at the time, they went, level's curved. And we got into the argument rather than laughing our tits off. So that's the difference. But they were so confident in their assertion that it overcame many flat earthers to the point where they could at least argue the point rather than be resounding in their, I don't know what you do, sigh, roll your eyes, laugh out loud. That's the attitude. Sorry, levels, not level. No. Level is definitely level. And you damn well need it to make this claim, don't you? Earth's flat.
Well, yeah, right. And the way it's utilized within like the Earth curve calculator, it's utilized as a horizontal plane, eye level, surface level. They're used as horizontal planes. And like if you're going to try to describe orbits, you need a plane of reference. So they always do this with respect to the horizontal plane of reference, which is the ground you're standing upon. So they can say that level's curving, but then they're throwing out everything that they claim afterwards.
Yeah. Suddenly the equatorial plane is curving. No, it isn't. And it's required for your globe claim. So the celestial sphere wraps around a flat plane, and that's how you get your angles to them. But you infer that we're standing on a surface that would be representative of the protractor that we're measuring it with, extended out at a radial value of 3959 miles. Bloody big protractor that we ain't standing on. We're standing on a flat plane in the middle of a now globe Earth wrapped around us in hell. But we still need the flat plane we're standing on, even though we're standing in a globe at that point that's been wrapped around us and the equatorial plane that's flat that we're standing on. It's still there and still needed and still transposed down from the ground if you think you're starting there. You should put it back into the centre of hell on a flat plane with the surrounding dome of the representation of the stars that we get being spherical, not the ground. And that is a prerequisite for all globe claims. They all come from the same flat Earth origin. No wonder we need to be suppressed. It's no wonder the numbers have halved. I blame me not having a computer for a couple of days. Actually, it's about 2 weeks. But in reality, the censorship level's gone up recently. Now, I was surprised to see some fairly high political figure published by Taboo Conspiracy, shout out to you, Ben, where he's talking about what does it make a difference if Earth's flat, there's still the Palestine situation, or whatever he was babbling on about. Now, while he said it with the same disdain as most people say it, he's got a different spin on his reaction, which is to say, okay, well, if it is, we've still got other stuff to deal with. Notwithstanding that it might be flat, we've still got Palestine. Like, if a few people don't hear that and go, what? You mean it might be? You're not saying it isn't? Like, yeah. The general consensus is shifting, which means the level of containment that was previously in place for people like us has to be increased. Hence, we end up with lower numbers, with less people coming. I struggle to find my own show when I search for it now. Well, that's how it is. Please share the show, by the way. That's what I should be doing, putting positive spin on this. The people who are here are 100% focused and dedicated and can reach a wider audience, hence me begging for show shares. So please smash the share button. We'll definitely get to 100 people again. If nothing else, because of the tenacity of the audience. Go ahead, John.
Something interesting. I meant to bring it up a couple of days ago, but I tried to look you up on my son's computer, and they have a setup that filters material through the school because it's a school computer that they allow them to bring home. But I was just curious, so I went to YouTube and searched your name, and all of the videos on that search engine, or what they allowed, were prior to January 2020.
I bet. Yeah, because that's the major turning point, really, isn't it? Yeah, outer space got us so far, but it doesn't necessarily debunk the ground we're standing on being flat, or being spherical and actually being flat. What it does is leave ambiguity in a place that you can't go for the person that believes, because they only had their belief in the first place, and their belief is strong. You come along with a stone cold debunking of it with the second law of thermodynamics, they can still retain their belief because it's not something that's been taken away from them before their very eyes. The horizon has a very physical connotation for a globe believer, and we've taken that away 1st Jan 2020.
Yeah, now I don't know if it's all of the softwares that are used throughout the United States, but just on that particular one, it did that, and it made me laugh because, like, that is kind of representative of a turning point where the only positive claim to reality that they could make to the physical world had just been debunked.
Yeah, that's a big problem, because there is a curve calculator that ties a physical claim, a physical proof, a physical Earth curve to something you can go out and do and implement. Is that the right word? Implement yourself. And once you take that away, what's left? So I can't prove the ground is physically curving with this maths. Oh, what's next? Well, an acceptance that it's flat, because it is. How's it actually dealt with? Flat. How's it actually navigated? Flat. How's it built on? Flat. Okay. Well, there's only one conclusion at that point. Like I say, there's no ambiguity like there is with fake space being a sky vacuum that would leave us all dead with no air to breathe. Having no Earth curve to measure when there was a maths that said you could go and see it yourself at the horizon, and we turn around and say the horizon's not Earth curve. That's bad. Very bad. Requires high levels of censorship. 74 people watching. Not bad. Let's see if we can get it to 100. I'm really keen to get it back up to that 100 point. Should we do a couple more housekeeping questions? Why not? We're on a bit of a roll today.
By the way, Nathan, the numbers might also just be the season.
Is the season for low numbers?
Yeah, because everybody's all busy and cranky, and
I'm certainly cranky.
Yes. I'm about to go soon, but just before I go, Nathan, I want to say I sent you a message in Skype. Check that after the show. It basically shows you where that number is. So you guys enjoy the rest of the show, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, you guys have a good day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, really appreciate your ear earlier. So before I started recording, he was around, Righteous Force that is, to hear me moan like a drain about this computer. So I did that for about 20 straight minutes, yelling and shouting. I've been a slave to it for 14 months with it not working ever for a single day, which is true. But anyway, let's not get into that. We're in a live show and we're on a roll. We're doing housekeeping. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
And is Paul Voigt coming with that evidence?
In 7.5 years, Arwin.
Maybe he's just gotten lost. Like, if you actually want to go for that evidence, he might have gone down the Bulgarian tunnels, right? The giant tunnels that are there. Apparently, they don't even know how big it is. Maybe he just actually went to find it and then ended up in this, getting stuck in this subterranean realm with dinosaurs and everything, just like in Jules Verne.
Nah, he
He's
found
still
himself
searching for the molten iron core right now.
He found himself at the center of the equatorial plane, conceptualizing that his protractor was a globe Earth he weren't standing on, and went, "Oh dear." That's the OG housekeeping question, you realise?
It is one of the earlier ones.
It's the earliest one.
Right, because Paul Voigt, nobody even knows who that is. I barely know who that is. I mostly know his name through that housekeeping question. That's it.
Not only can I remember him, I can remember his thumbnail. It was a little fish being pulled along by a boat being pulled along by a fish on the end of a rod, chasing after a magnet on the end of the fishing rod. I think something like that. I can remember his thumbnail. But Paul Voigt sparked the question: how are we going to keep track of a major victory? So it's never forgotten that we covered this on the show, and at that point, as you say, Paul Voigt had been asked by Sleeping Warrior for his evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. He said, "I'll be right back."
Yeah.
So now it's a housekeeping question. So I mean, if you are a ball believer and watching the show, I mean, that's the place to start, really, isn't it? You know, the first housekeeping question that we laid on the table was any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. And the way it's phrased, you can tell where we are in the discussion as well as to when it was formulated. Centre of a presupposed spherical Earth infers that we're just talking about their assumptions of the R value and nowhere near the stage we are now talking about that R value being derived from a flat plane, or the centre of the molten iron core being the hell that represents Earth when you're in the molten iron core on the equatorial flat plane that's definitely not bent.
Were we were just right in that period, just figuring out that the ballers really do use the R value presupposed and everything, didn't we? We kind of just discovered that.
You still have
At the time.
Validation Boy on the scene, and he got credit for it. So I was watching Cathexis channel and QE at the time, as was Validation Boy, but he was obviously paying more attention than I was, because he came out with a video off the back of one of QE's discussions with Cathexis, saying every single claim to be globe proof that exists will start with the assumption that there is a globe already in effect below your feet. Now, when he said that, I was like, wow, that's absolutely profound and true. They all start with the assumption of the R value. In the case of the time-wise where this got named as well, begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator assumes R. It's right there in the calculation. And is it assumed? Well, Mick West, who makes that calculation in the case of Metabunk, says, yeah, it's just assumed. So that's where we're at. But these days, far more advanced in terms of the argumentation. We probably wouldn't have formulated the housekeeping question in the way that it is today if we made that question. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
It'd be a very different question.
It's the start. It's the start of it all. It's like the massive cornerstone of a building that's really significant thing. Like it's the beginning of everything. It's what you presuppose at the beginning of it all is like the foundation of the entire dream.
Right. Well, that's why it gets the title housekeeping. It's because you can lose track of these sorts of things as you progress in your argument. So someone comes to the show and they just hear you can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. You're going to need a flat Earth for that if you're taking an angle to a star and getting your fix by minusing the angle from 90 and timesing by 60 to, to develop a line of position. And then if you do it, people will find that complex because it is. No disrespect to anybody who doesn't understand it at this stage. Fine. It took me enough repetitions from 10th. It took me about a year to understand it. Well, if you come to the show and that's all we've got to offer, how are you going to realise that, no, there is no molten iron core, no, there is no space, no R for Earth being a sphere is automatically assumed. No, there is no Coriolis effect. No, there is no axial rotation. No, there is no Earth-based horizon. If you don't keep repeating those things, it's like saying, well, my hotel looks after the rich and famous in the penthouses, so I'm not going to be dusting the lamps in the crappy rooms. Like, no, you still got to do that. You've got to keep doing that. You still got to dust the lamps every day. And dusting the lamps is asking if there's any evidence of a molten iron core or physical geometric sphere edge horizon or axial rotation.
Yep. And how funny was that when is it around 2020 that before that time, the ballers still thought that they had some kind of a lead for the measurement of the R value, right? For the radius or the circumference that they could measure it. But then because of the black swan observations, now suddenly they even lost that one last line they had to any physical claim about it. Because now suddenly refracted, now they can't measure it anymore. And they just did it just like that, even though that was like the last straw for them to hold on for, like the last rope that held the balloon tied down to the Earth, basically. And now it's all gone. Wouldn't you say?
It's all gone. How terrible. Yeah, I mean, although we didn't ask them all individually and get answers, I think I pretty much covered all of them in that little ramble. So that's it for housekeeping. Did anybody see Flatzoid's response to Quantum Eraser by any chance?
Was that yesterday's stream?
No, he published it in the last 12 hours.
Oh, no, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was following on from the discussion that we were obviously critiquing with the dude, the big-headed dude that didn't really know much and hand-waved everything. You know what I'm talking about? Yesterday.
I was here yesterday during FED, but I didn't really follow any other streams beside that.
No, fair enough. Bacon, we've had you here before. Your name's familiar. I can't remember why. Anybody recall why I'm familiar with that Bacon guy? He's dropped
Yeah,
immediately.
orbital mechanics.
He ran away when John asked about the planar reference for his orbital mechanics assumption.
Oh, that's where we got to last time. So it's not me that's directly asking you something. Hey, Bacon. He's got mic issues.
I'm good.
Hello.
So,
Do you recall the end of your discussion last time you were here with John about a plane of reference?
in a reference? No.
But for your orbital mechanics.
Oh, the three-body problem?
Yeah, that's where you get your orbital mechanics from. You need a plane of reference.
Well, it kind of makes sense for two bodies, I guess, not for three.
Hold on, let me try to explain it to you. The two body and three body problems deal with the problems of calculating orbits, right?
Yeah.
Right. To calculate orbits, they are measured from a plane of reference.
What do you mean?
Apogee and perigee uses a plane of reference to get the angle change from our position on the surface to what we're going to describe as orbits.
The n-body problems are not related to surface. Usually deal with the bodies as point masses.
Right. It's a step past the point that we made to you, is that your problem is after you've already got a flaw within your assumption for these problems.
Oh, what assumption?
The orbits, right? The two body problem of orbits within Einsteinian, or the three body problem of orbits within Newtonian.
Yeah, I still don't understand what you mean by the plane of reference. Seems like you're referring to the surface of something, which I'm not connecting to the three-body problem actually is.
To describe the orbit, right? Or to
Yeah,
calculate.
but I mean, we describe them in terms of the position of the bodies in space. Those are like XYZ coordinates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, but that's with respect to a flat plane, because that is your plane of reference. Those in
But it's
space,
three
as you
coordinates.
say,
How is it relative to a plane if those are three coordinates, like X, Y, and Z? That doesn't fit a plane.
there you go. Now you're getting it. You just got to hear NASA say it now, so you can really get it.
No, but does he? He said it, but does that mean he gets it? Was he saying it like that's a defense? You understand that you require the XYZ coordinate system flat plane to describe their position in space now. So you need a flat plane for this.
X, Y, Z is a flat plane. It's just a three-dimensional coordinate system.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, so
Yes.
I don't get it.
You don't get how a three-dimensional coordinate system is horizontal and vertical, and you have a horizontal reference plane within that system. You don't understand that.
And it's not wrapped around a globe
Oh, I mean,
specifically.
sure, but that plane is not like a real thing. It's just a part of the coordinate system. It's not a surface. It's not a planet. It's not anything. I mean, It's just a coordinate
Hold on.
system.
No, that's not what your citations will say. You need to go back and look because they're always in reference to the equatorial plane or the orbital plane or the ecliptic plane.
Okay. I mean, you can do that, but there's actually no need for the coordinates to
Well, what's the
be
use of it then?
aligned with
So
any
what's
of
the
the orbital.
use? You're saying there's no need to do that. Well, what's the purpose if you don't do that? What's the use of this? That got your
The
tongue?
use of what?
Doing it full stop. What would be the point?
Doing what?
Measuring things with respect to the ecliptic plane or the equatorial plane. You said, well, you don't need to reference it to anything. Okay. And I'm asking, okay, notwithstanding that reply, why would we bother doing it at all? What would it be useful for if we don't reference it to one of those planes that you've now denied because it absolutely required flat planes to do this? And you're denying them. And I'm saying, well, if you deny them, why would we be doing this? What use does it serve? Third time.
Predict the relative position between the bodies.
For what?
It's just what the body problem is. It's predicting the relative position between the bodies.
It's just a problem within an Einsteinian mathematics or a Newtonian mathematics. How does that bear any relevance to me in reality whatsoever then?
I don't know. It didn't say this.
So it's a
It's just a
meaningless
subject we were
folly. So it's
talking about.
just a globe believer masturbating then. Pointless folly. Totally superfluous to anything in reality. We could just figure out the 2 or 3 body problem within their maths. Who cares? Do you not know where you are? This is a debate about reality. Who cares?
That was not the debate that was having at that time where you interjected. We were just talking about the true body problem, not as a proof of the globe or anything like that. That wasn't the context of the conversation.
It's not a proof of the globe. It's a proof of a flat plane. We're trying to drill this into you, but you keep denying the flat plane that's utilised whenever it gets utilised. In your descriptions that you are using to claim that we have orbital mechanics around a sphere, and when it gets to the flat plane requirement, you deny the flat plane and say, well, you don't need to reference it to anything. And then when I say, oh, what are we debating about this for? Oh, I'm just debating about a 3-body math problem. Go to a maths forum. We are interested in physical reality. If you're interested in maths problem, why are you here? We deal with physics, not maths.
Oh, you're going to use a lot of maths when dealing with physics, right?
What does physics mean?
Really?
Stop. What does physics mean?
I'm not sure how to define that.
So why did you tell me it'd have something to do with numbers?
Can you solve for any?
Don't ask me a
physical
question.
problem
Answer my
without
question.
using numbers?
You've just told me physics has something to do with numbers. I asked you to define physics. You can't. Now I'm asking you why you tell me something you can't even define would have anything to do with numbers when you don't even know how to define it. Why would it have anything to do with anything in your brain? You don't know what it is. Don't tell me it's got anything to do with numbers. It doesn't. It's physics. Maths deals with numbers. Physics isn't maths. You've just told me, well, I'd have a lot of numbers in it. No, it
Physics is
wouldn't.
not math.
You don't need to talk
It
to me.
uses it.
You just need to shut up while I correct you about the word that you didn't understand. That would be physics. It's not maths. It's something else. Not maths. Physics. That's what we deal with.
I didn't say the word the same thing. I said it uses it.
Does it? Define it.
Physics uses
Define
math?
physics.
I'm not sure what's the definition.
So why are
of
you
physics.
telling me what it's for the second time? You're this arrogant that
I'm
you
asking
need,
you.
after disclaiming that you don't even know what the word means, to tell me for a second time that it's got a lot of numbers in it. Well, like maths. Now that's something else. Second time you're going to get me really irritated really quickly unless you acknowledge that maths, dealing with numbers, isn't physics and won't have a lot of numbers in it because that would be maths. That's the third time.
Well,
Meanwhile-
I don't have a problem with it.
Meanwhile, you need a
No,
flat plane
thanks.
for your orbital problems. XYZ? Yeah, that's with respect to a plane, isn't it? No, you just want to argue about definitions for physics. That's not maths. You've gone all silent when it comes to the plane. Oh, has he run away again?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
When
that-
it comes to the plane, that you can either what? No, that's not really relevant to what I'm talking about. Just got a maths problem. No, we're talking about the physics of reality. Well, bye. Off you go. Because you can't accept that something you can't define hasn't got numbers in it, as you're disclaiming over and over again. At that point, you run away. What? Because you can't admit that you're wrong. You don't even know what physics means, but you're going to tell me it's got a lot of numbers in it. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Physics doesn't utilize math because you can formulate the scientific method applied without using a single number or calculation thing. Anything. It's purely descriptive. It actually specifically doesn't require math. That's what's so awesome about physics.
But the whole thing is, right, it's kind of his point about, I'm just arguing about a three-body problem within the orbits and how I calculate them. How are you not going to accept that the orbits, the elements to that orbit, and the Keplerian and the orbital mechanics elements, the very basis of this, so it require a flat plane, and you're just going to hand wave that? What kind of delusion is that?
No, but because it's like a movie studio, like a movie they're shooting, right? There's going to be wires, there's going to be boom cams, but if all possible, you try to erase those out of the film afterward, right? And that's what they do with that required flat plane they need everywhere. It's there, but they have to like remove it for their
Physics
mind
is the
for
study of nature.
disbelief to work.
Hold on a second, Darwin. Say again, banned truth.
Physics is the study of nature.
Not numbers, then.
Well, we observe bodies orbiting each other.
Do we?
Really?
Yes.
Where do we observe
Where?
that?
What do you think Saturn's rings are?
I don't know.
A
You tell
light
me.
in the sky.
You
Of
tell
course
me.
you don't know, because you want to assert a flat plane before you actually correctly make an assessment of what you're observing.
I didn't say anything.
no,
I said
no,
I
no,
don't
no.
know. Hold on, Arwin. I said I don't know, and you tell me that I want to assert something when I say I don't know. Bit defensive, aren't you?
Yeah, you say you don't know because there's no way to explain
You don't need to
orbital
assume
mechanics
why
with
I
a
said
flat
it.
plane.
You don't need to do that. You don't need to assume why I say I don't know. I'll tell you why if you like. It's because I don't know what they are.
He just said that
Well,
you can't use
so
you
physicists
can't
know what it
explain
is.
orbital mechanics. He just said you can't explain orbital mechanics using a flat plane when orbital mechanics, the elements of orbital mechanics, and the Keplerian elements, which are involved in that, require a plane of reference. And you're telling us that we need you need the plane more than we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the math requires
that's
the
not a
flat
physical
plane.
plane. It's an imaginary plane. It's just perpendicular to the axis of rotation.
Uh,
It's just essential for the math
so-
to do anything.
hold on. So to
Perpendicular.
assert an axis of rotation requires a flat plane also.
Yeah, but it's not a
Perpendicular
physical
requires the
flat.
surface be flat.
Yeah,
What are you
perpendicular.
talking about?
The last three statements you
Perpendicular
gave.
to the y-axis of the body.
Yeah, that's a flat plane you're referencing.
That doesn't mean it's physical.
Oh, okay. Back to the question I asked the other guy. So how useful would this be exactly for anything in regards to a debate about the nature of Earth? You've piped up because of what exactly? How are we going to use
Because
this
we
then?
observe orbital mechanics, which is studying nature. We study the
We
nature of
observe
matter,
them.
and then we see orbital mechanics. It's observational.
From where? From the ground.
Yes.
Yes, so it's in reference to how we
And
see
in
things
space,
from the ground
same
then.
observation.
My bad. I can't respond to you.
Yeah, I know, my bad.
Yeah, so it's in reference to how we see things from the ground then.
I just want to know what causes orbital mechanics on a flat plane.
yeah. So it's in reference to how we see things from the ground then.
Yeah, we're not asserting a cause. We're pointing out that your description requires Earth to be flat.
You have to like
Well,
it.
I'm interested in
We're not
cause.
making this as a positive claim. It's your positive claim that is utilizing a flat plane, and now you're denying it.
I don't deny the two-dimensional horizontal plane perpendicular to the y-axis of a rotating body. I don't deny that.
And you use that to describe orbital motions of stars that we see from the ground, correct? Yes, it is correct. You need a flat Earth to describe these orbits.
Yes.
Yes, welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah, but it's still a round
yeah,
ball
but
when you look at
no,
Saturn, it's a physical sphere.
no, not yeah, but yeah, that would be you, are describing motions of lights with respect to a flat plane. Welcome to Flat Earth. Earth is flat.
We observe different orientations of Saturn's rings that are wrapping around what appears to be a ball.
That's really interesting.
It appears, does it?
So even though there's a two-dimensional plane that everything is perpendicular to on that ball, that doesn't mean that Saturn's now a
So you
flat
can't be
plane. It means it's
perpendicular
still
on a
physical
ball.
sphere.
What are you talking about? With
He's
respect to
talking
the
about
axis,
things-
we covered this. You'll need a flat
Saturn is a
Earth to
sphere,
be
that's what I'm talking
with
about.
respect to an axis. You'll need a flat Earth for that too. We already covered that. You just rumpused us and talked through us because you didn't like the sound of it, like you're about to do now. Yes, when you describe with respect to the ball and its axis, that too requires a flat plane to describe.
Yeah.
Yes, so we're going to be describing everything ball-related, according to you, from a flat plane.
I'm describing Saturn's rings specifically.
Yeah, and if you're going to be describing them with respect to their orbital motion, you'll be doing it with respect to a flat plane.
And you're disrespecting the sphere that those flat planes are perpendicular to.
Sorry, you can't be perpendicular.
Perpendicular.
He's not listening, isn't he, Joe? You try. I tried twice.
The
You've tried
y-axis
once.
of the rotating body.
Perpendicular. Oh, pardon me, sir. Perpendicular is 90 degrees to the vertical. Horizontal
Yeah,
in
I know
nature.
that. That's why I keep saying it.
Right? Okay, 90 degrees. 90, not curving.
I say it
So
because I
not
know what it
to
means. Thanks.
Not on a sphere. You're not getting perpendicular on a sphere.
Yes, I told him twice. He
That's
didn't.
not
He didn't
what I
like. He didn't
said.
like it. Like now, he didn't want to hear it.
Perpendicular to the y-axis of the body. The
Yeah.
rotating body. It rotates on its y-axis.
No
Perpendicular to that
rotating
is the
body.
two-dimensional plane.
Yeah, we heard the first 3 times. And we said to describe the axis of rotation will require a flat plane. To describe it also, that is 4 times.
Okay, we don't got to go through it again.
Well, why don't you accept it? Because it means acceptance of
I
the
never
fact that...
denied it.
Oh.
I'm just saying it's rotating around a sphere.
No, it isn't. The description of axial rotation requires a flat plane. To describe it, that is 5 times. Repeating it a 6th time won't alter the rebuttal you've heard 5 times and ignored.
You're literally trying to alter reality that Saturn is not a sphere.
Sorry, you think perpendicular is with respect to a curve? No, you are trying to alter reality. Perpendicular is with respect to a flat plane. That's how we're describing this stuff. My bad. I know it's painful, but we will need a flat Earth for your descriptions that you think relate to an axis of rotation that is described from a flat plane 6 times.
Do you really think Earth is two-dimensional, though?
Someone else has got something to say, John. Go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just going to say, now he's going to try to take you to the center of the sphere to take the measurements, but you can only do the measurements with respect to the plane of reference. Therefore, the plane must be referenceable. So he's going to take you a place you can't reference to say that's your plane of reference. It's absurdity.
Right, because they are like the strings in the movie that they have to edit out in their minds, right? They have to use them or it won't work, but they can't recognize it's there. So they have to
You
edit
didn't
out
find a flaw
post-production.
in orbital mechanics. You just have a problem with it.
We didn't describe a flaw. We described the necessity to use a flat plane. That's not describing flaws. It's describing necessities for a flat Earth.
That flat plane is not a physical two-dimensional plane. That's not what's happening.
What are we using it for? We're back to this. Rinse and repeat. So we're not standing looking at stars and describing their motion with orbital mechanics anymore because you lose. And to do this, we will reference a flat Earth. Therefore, we're not doing it with reference to anything like the last guy. Now, you've taken 6 round around do-si-dos. Are you going to run away like the last guy too?
You can see the orientation of Saturn's rings change over the years.
Yes.
Indicating that it is not two-dimensional.
And? So it absolutely is. You don't have binocular vision to the stars.
So you think Saturn's two-dimensional?
I said and I will repeat, you do not have binocular vision to the stars. Do you understand what that means?
Yes.
So they are
Binocular
absolutely,
means
so
you can
they
see in
are
3D.
absolutely without question two-dimensional. You are wrong.
So Saturn is 2D to you?
You have not got, but do we need to do this 7 times too? Are you slow? Do it need
No,
to
we're
repeat this a
moving
second
forward.
time? You've acknowledged, but you don't have binocular vision to it. Do you understand it? You said yes. Now you're repeating it like, am I suggesting it's not three-dimensional? What, with my binocular vision, I've got to confirm that? No, I've already overcome this twice, but you seem to feel the need to talk through the second rendition of it. Why? Because it's painful. We're highlighting how your orbital mechanics needs a flat Earth. You're then going to go to the stars and tell me that they are definitely 3D when you don't have binocular vision to them.
Yeah, Saturn is an object. It's three-dimensional.
What, when you don't have binocular vision to it?
You could see the...
You could, but you're not going to because I've overcome this crap and you're not going to rinse and repeat it for 3, 6, 9, 12 times. No, you're not going to establish three-dimensionality to those stars. I've overcome it 3 times. No.
Well, physicists do because they study nature.
Oh, do they? Oh, appeal to someone else you're not. Physicists do that. What's physics?
It's not just appealing to someone else, it's appealing to the study of nature.
Oh, right. And what study did they do?
They studied the orientation of Saturn's rings over the years.
All right, that's a phenomena, is it?
Yeah, its orientation changes.
All right, if it's a phenomena and this is physics, I understand your claim. You're saying the orientation of the rings of Saturn is something studied by physicists, and I don't need to be talked through while I summarise the point you're making that you can clearly detect is going to get ripped apart immediately. You don't need to rumpus me summarising your garbage. I'll just summarise it again.
You're
I'll try to.
Me.
Oh, you will rumpus me summarising your garbage.
I let you speak, bro.
Why, thank you. Yeah, I don't need to do anything else other than say you need a flat plane for every single claim you've made here.
Yeah, you're not referencing the same flat plane, which is imaginary. You're not referencing Earth when you're looking at Saturn's rings.
Are you not?
2 different orientations anyway.
Sorry,
it's not the same horizontal plane.
Is it not going to be described with orbital mechanics by you after we look at the stars and describe how we see them from the ground? Have we not covered this already? I'm pretty sure we have.
Well, I posted a picture.
This is non-sequitur.
Okay.
You're not measuring from Saturn to give you the description of the orbital mechanics of Saturn's rings. Right? We're talking about the bodies as they move through the celestial dome or celestial sphere, if you're going to describe it that way. We're talking about those motions and how they relate. Now, your orbital mechanics requires a plane of reference in order to describe that. And then if you want to move it out to Saturn after you've utilized the plane of reference to just try to describe how Saturn's rings works, more power to you, but you started with a plane of reference.
Yeah, your position on that plane of reference is a tangent.
Yeah, welcome to Flat Earth. A tangent to what? A sphere you automatically assume is below the plane of reference. Nah, you establish the horizontal plane of reference with respect to the ground that you are standing on, not with respect to an imaginary sphere beyond imaginary tangent point. No, my friend.
You know you can have a horizontal on a ball, right?
Right, when we're measuring angles, we would acquire their position, their elevation, with respect to a horizontal line of reference. A globe won't give you that.
I think what he's trying to say is you can take a level and set it on top of a ball, but it'll only intersect that ball at one point. But that's irrelevant to the point, because if you're going to say surface level is curving, you can't use earth curve mathematics to assert there's a tangent there, because within the mathematics itself, surface level is a horizontal plane. So no, you're wrong.
Anything else?
Sorry, I was sending a text.
Of course you were. You're being annihilated for your basis of a tangent, but you were sending a text?
You're asserting that Saturn's 2D.
I thought you were sending a text. Were you paying attention to what was being said, or are you lying about needing to buy some time by saying you were doing a text?
You're arguing
You
against.
seem to be telling us about what we're arguing about. Considering you've just told me you're sending a text, I'm not going to let you have the mic because you claimed to not be paying attention only moments earlier. Why would I let you respond? You were sending a text. Do you need us to repeat it so you can pay attention to it and digest it when you're not sending a text? You're not going to respond after telling us you basically ignored us.
Listen, I know the argument. We've been
Oh,
talking.
really? Well, you were just sending a text, so I would assume you couldn't hear him because you were concentrating on something else. That would be sending a message to somebody else, not listening to what John just said. So your choices are acknowledge how rude you've just been, and then we'll repeat it for you, or we can't continue because you're not just going to respond after saying, I wasn't listening, I was sending a text. Meanwhile, everything you've claimed here required a flat plane of reference. And what are we describing with that flat plane of reference? Well, how we see things from the ground. Unless, of course, that proves that we're on a flat plane of reference, because that's how we're describing what we see from the ground with orbital mechanics, then you'll deny that it's in reference to anything or run away like the last guy, or say you're sending a text, so you don't have to respond.